Hello ladies, how's it going? Happy Tuesday! Today we are going to be talking about pregnancy and mountain biking. Pregnancy! So I got asked the other day, a lady reached out via Facebook Messenger and she asked me some questions about kind of riding in pregnancy, because she just became pregnant and she was nervous about it, just like I was, and I'm pretty sure most people are. If you're not, bless your heart, because I need some of that. So I wanted to pop on and kind of go over a little bit of my experiences. What are some of the things that I've learned? I'm no expert in this area, but I have done some research on things to do and not do, especially with riding, and then also things that I wanted to, or ways that I wanted to keep my body healthy as I go through pregnancy and to help me with afterwards. Because as I've told so many of my clients before, pregnancy is traumatic. Pregnancy causes a lot of changes in our body. And I, for one, I felt a lot of those, and I'm feeling them now as we speak. So I'd love for first just to know, if you're on here, are you pregnant? Can you share that with us yet? If you were in your first trimester, totally understand. I personally, I had a couple miscarriages that were pretty hard on me. And so sharing and telling other people that I was pregnant in my first trimester was only for those who I knew that would support me and go forward with me. And that if I told them, it wasn't going to be this huge, big conversation and deal. So I completely understand if you don't want to say. If you are in the point that you're telling people, I'd love to know if you are pregnant, just to be able to support each other and to go forward together. I'm going to be giving others some different advice as I go through my pregnancy, and you're going to be seeing me riding and not riding, I'm sure, during parts of it. So if you are pregnant, then I'd love to know that you're here. So first trimester, what kind have I learned? Every day is different. Every day is completely different. Some days you feel okay. Some days you feel nauseous as all hell. Some days you're vomiting and throwing up. Some days you're happy that you were able to eat some eggs or some crackers that day. Other days you feel a little bit better. So I didn't start feeling more nauseous and kind of ill until I hit like kind of the 6.5 week mark. And that's whenever I started having a lot more reflux. All of a sudden I ate a hamburger and I was like, this sucks. This is terrible. And I had reflux the entire rest of the night because I ate that hamburger. And I was like, well, not going to do that again. Maybe red meat's off the table for me at the moment. And so all of those things, like different parts and pieces, the key that I learned in the first trimester is get out and go and do something. If you feel slightly okay that you can get out and go and do it. Now, you definitely need to rest. You definitely need to listen to your body. There were some weeks that I didn't do a whole lot, especially if I had longer work days. There were some weeks that just the weekend is whenever I rode, and they were easier rides. I was stopping more frequently. I had to choose who I rode with because I wasn't telling everybody that I was pregnant, and I was like sneaking off in the woods to potentially go throw up type of gig, or just like it was hot. So dealing with that then and understanding what your body can go through. And sometimes you can just tell people, hey, I'm working on different things as I'm going on the trail, or I'm just not feeling quite as good. That's going to be one of those things that you kind of decide on who you're going to ride with and who you're going to be out there with. But making sure that you take those times to go out there and get some type of exercise, whether it's 5-mile ride, whether it's 12 or upwards of like 15 to 18, go and do something and get out there. Also, remember that you have hiking, you have these other methods that you can go and do if you're not feeling up to a full ride. I felt like mountain biking was one of the easier things for me to do and to go and implement versus a hike or versus a walk. Just my body type, what I like to do, and how I felt a little bit more release mentally for some of that. Now, Hydration. Hydration is super, super key whenever you're pregnant. You want to make sure that you stay hydrated. You want to make sure that your electrolytes are up. You want to make sure that you have enough salts. There's a lot of information about keeping those electrolytes and keeping up your vitamins. And if you have a lot of issues, I couldn't take regular prenatal vitamins. I had to take these gummies. They're called Smarty Pants gummies for prenatal. I still take them actually right now because I can't handle a lot of the regular pills that you would take for prenatal stuff. And so making sure that you're inputting some of these things that you can actually eat in that time period. Now, some people don't have as much nausea as others, and good on you. Bless your hearts, because I wish I was there with you during a lot of that. But other people like me had more problems with nausea, with the effects that come with some of that early trimester kind of fatigue. Now, typically they say around like 12 or 14 weeks is whenever you start kind of feeling the boost and the burst of the second trimester. A lot of things and processes have happened in your body. You're not growing a placenta anymore, and you kind of get this burst of energy. And also your nausea is not quite as high then at that 12 to 14 week mark. Well, I probably made some mistakes that I was looking forward to the 12 to 14 week mark too much. I should have gotten out a little bit more. I should have done things and pushed myself a little bit harder in my first trimester to just even be outside and go for like a short walk. But I was like, I'm almost there. April's almost over and I can make this happen. Well, at my 12-week Wednesday mark is when I went in for my appendectomy. I had my appendix taken out right as I switched over into the 12 weeks of pregnancy mark for me, which sucked. Sucked something fierce, because I was looking forward to that as a period that I was going to have a little bit more energy. I was going to be able to get some more things done. I had like 5 single track videos that I needed to film. I had some other work stuff I needed to do before I looked pregnant. And after my appendectomy, I was like, oh, shnikes. I hope I can get these done. Thankfully, I did. I just moved very slow, and I was very sore afterwards. So if you see these single tracks videos coming out, no, it was probably like 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks after my appendectomy. And just know that little fact, that little like nugget about me as you're watching that video. I was like, oh, this is terrible. Another thing that I did in both the first and the second trimester was I continued to work on my core strength, and I continued to work on my glute strength. There's a lot of research that says if you continue to exercise, you continue to work on these different areas, that you have a better labor, and you're also healthier as a whole for your pregnancy. And so making sure that those came and hit the top of the spectrum for me, and that I put some focus in on that, was key for me. Now, after I had my appendectomy, I don't know if y'all remember, I did a Facebook Live where I was just doing some pelvic tilts and just kind of waking up a lot of these muscles in through here. I think I'm kind of paying a little bit of that price of my appendectomy now, and I'll talk about that in just a second of why I think that. But making sure that you focus on that. With mountain biking specifically, heart rate. I talked to my OB, I've talked to the other people around me, and they've all said that as long as you were doing something before you were pregnant, heart rate wise, endurance wise, you can keep up to that to a certain extent. You want to back off a smidge. What I have done personally is that I am more riding in my zone 3, popping into my zone 4 for just a little bit on some of the hills, and then coming back into my zone 3 or lower as I'm riding. I'm trying not to stay in my zone 4, my threshold zone. That's whenever, if you're not familiar with zones, that's whenever your breathing kind of starts to change, where you start to not really want to talk more than like 2-word sentences. Keeping a conversational pace is something that I've implemented a lot for my riding in pregnancy. It's something I feel like that is safe for my body type and my body, as well as my baby, as I'm going in this process. There's nothing that says that's not safe for it in the recent years that I know about, and that also my OB knows about, or also my doula. And so that's kind of what I've decided to do for my mountain biking specifically. How I've handled that on certain rides is, one, I either choose rides with some ups and downs so I can recover as I'm going, or I take certain spots to recover or ride excessively slow. So whenever I went out to Colorado a couple weeks ago, obviously my fitness, being 6 weeks post appendectomy or getting my appendix taken out, and also going from, I live at like 2,000 feet of elevation to 9,000 or above elevation, I'm not going to be in shape for that. I wasn't ready cardiac fitness wise for that. Oh, hell no. Not especially after my first trimester, where I was riding nauseous and just happy that I was out there, you know? And so I rode at a snail's pace, and I had to tell myself as I'm riding, slow down. Slow down. I need you to ride slower. I don't need to push to the top of this hill. Let's see if we can go a little slower. Our breath needs to come down a little bit more. You need to be able to talk. And so as I'm riding, I'm having to remind myself of this as I was going up the different hills. So we did the Monarch Crest Trail. It goes up to like 11,000 feet. We did greens, which is more of it's not quite as much of a climb as silver is as you go over the Monarch Crest. Like that was a huge thing that I was worried about. I was worried about how I was going to do on it. I was worried I was going to have to like stop and rest so many times. And so I was going up the hills, going slower. How slow can you go? How slow can you ride up this hill? And I really surprised myself. I did great. And I don't know if you know what greens is downhill. It's 3,000 foot of descending, and it's pretty chunky. It's technical, and I was living my best life. Ladies, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm back. I'm here. This is happening. I'm so stoked. It made me so happy to get back out there and have that kind of ability to go over the technical rocks, to go over these things and feel confident in that. And so that goes to the next part is, you want to be safe as you do this. You don't want to fall. You don't want to do anything that might make you fall. And so everything that I've rode, I felt very confident in. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't slipped and fell down the steps. My flip-flop slipped as I was walking down the steps, and both of my feet went out from underneath me and I landed on my butt. It's like, come on. I just rode everything out in Colorado and I'm unloading the van and I fall down the steps. Really? Come on. Of course, after having a little shock of what just happened and some tears of just the shock of what just happened, then I gathered myself. I was obviously fine, but it was just oh, I've just done all of these rides, all of these things, and it's the stairs of my house and my flip-flops that slid off the end of it. Oh my God, you've got to be freaking kidding me for it. So as I said before, being safe, core and glute has been a main focus of my pregnancies. Heart rate, staying kind of out of that zone 4, except for little pieces and parts, you'll pop into it for sure, or at least I pop into it for sure. And then making sure that your hydration is up to snuff and very key critical parts of it. I carry pickles with me. I carry extra water. I don't want to get thirsty as I'm out there. And or I use a filter system as I'm out there on the trails. Now I'm starting to feel, so I went to Solly this past weekend. Solly, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's pretty smooth trails. There's hardly any technical bits in it. And it's more of a cross country, so it's ups and downs through it. Well, I'm a little bit bigger now, and I've gained some belly in the past week, a lot more than I had before. And I'm starting to get some pains on kind of the outer edges of my hips. here-ish. And this is not anything that I've been told or diagnosed of, but I'm assuming it's some round ligament pain. And I think it's probably because I had such an extreme setback of my core when I had my appendix taken out. And so even with me really focusing in on here, also I'm hypermobile. And so I'm already super flexible in general. Like things can just move in more than what they should. And so I think that probably has a little bit a part to play in this. But as I was approaching, I think I did like 11.5 mile loop. I went out and did left loop back, if you're familiar. And I had to stop several times on this trail, which I didn't really expect that I would have to, except for I would had some more, like some pains in those like upper hips, lower abdominal regions over the days before it. And so I knew I could potentially kick some of those up a bit. And by the time I was about a mile away from the exit of the trail, I was like, my body is ready to be done and to sit and relax, because it was definitely starting to be a little painful. I ended up riding with one hand on the handlebar and the other hand like kind of like cupping and pressing into my belly, which isn't probably the best per se. And I've kind of taken it easy since then. I've just done some workouts here, but I haven't been back on the bike since then. But it's something to be mindful of the trails that you choose. Of, are there any bailout points? Do you have to ride all of them? Do you feel confident riding it? Is it mostly up and then mostly down on the way back towards the car? So choosing trails that are appropriate for you, that you can bail if you need to. The left loop doesn't really have a bail point, but I also didn't feel it until we were like a mile from the exit, 1.5 miles from the exit point, of being like, all right. Note to self, I might need to support my belly a little bit more than I thought I did. And it's potentially because I need a little bit more core strength right now. And things are stretching, things are moving, things are shifting, things are growing, that it can't keep up with it. And so I'm going to be, as I look at like general pregnancy health, one, I've hired a doula. I think it's going to be important for me with my labor. I've had several issues in the past with medical stuff happen that I don't trust as well as I probably should in different instances. And I feel better if I have somebody else advocating for me more than just my husband, and to also take a little bit of pressure off him. And so I've hired a doula. I think it's been a great experience thus far, and I'll share more as I go about how having a doula has helped for that. I also scheduled a pelvic floor physical therapy appointment. I have it tomorrow, actually, and just kind of a checkup. Not really any issues going on down there, but I would like her to see me and how I am before, and with no issues going on or very limited issues going on. And so she can help me as I'm going through my pregnancy. Also, if I have other questions, I like being on board with somebody. It's like if you have a heating HVAC system in your house, you have a maintenance guy come out once a year to clean it. So then if you do have an issue, you can call him back up and be like, hey, yeah, I'm your client. I've paid you before. I need you to come and fix this. And I've been a client of yours in the past. And so it's an easier way of entry, an easier barrier of entry. And I feel just more confident having her have a touch point with me and then going and following up later as I need to, versus, oh my gosh, I need this. What the hell? I don't know who to call. I don't know what's going on. I already have somebody in my corner. And I personally feel relief from having that and having somebody there to help me with. Her name is Samantha Spencer. She does some online stuff as well. So I think she has an online program for pregnancy and strengthening, and she has a Facebook group too. But she's local. I'm going to see her tomorrow. She deals with a lot of pregnancy and postpartum with athletes, which is what I would consider myself, and what a lot of y'all should consider yourselves as well. I think that kind of wraps up. I definitely keep up with my nutrition a little bit better now that I'm able to eat more. And I've just been listening to my body about what I want to eat. Chicken apparently does not bode well with me, so I haven't been eating it. And it's been doing a lot better since then. Let me know if you have any questions on this, and also if this was helpful for you. It's kind of just a wrap up of what I've been going through, what I've done, and also what I feel is important for me to stay healthy through the pregnancy with growing little baby, and also with looking at postpartum, making sure that I'm doing well through that. Because yes, I want to be a mom, but I want to keep my body healthy, and I want things from it. And it's all going to play a role in together. Yeah, I hope this was super helpful. All right, ladies, have a wonderful, wonderful day.